So I'll call this meeting to order then. Good morning, everybody. Morning, Dave. Our inspirator this morning is by Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome thoughts for this meeting. T. Toastmasters is a terrific place to be, even in person. It's worth getting up for and shoveling your snow off the car. Oh, let us be open to learning something new today. A. May the ahs, ums, ers not flow from our lips. S. Toastmaster provides salubrious climate for growth. T. Pay attention to the timer. M. Toastmasters provides motivation. A. Do you have your agenda? S. Give speakers feedback. T. We are looking forward to a tantalizing meeting. E. Let's be enthusiastic to learn from our evaluators. R. Be receptive today. S. Looking forward to a superb meeting. And smile. We are here.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And let's do the pledge real quick. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll save announcements for last week. We get the meeting started. We'd like to welcome up Jackie Kenny, who's our Toastmaster.
Good morning, few people in the room. Hopefully things go well this morning. We have several people to announce, but they all seem to be online. So we'll start with our word master, Mike Licata, who sent the word of the day on the agenda, which I thought was a very nice thing to do. So, Michael, talk about the word of the day.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and if we have any guests out there, the word of the day this morning will be frigid. I thought it went really well with the theme. It's an adjective, and its definition is very cold in temperature. So be sure to use it if you're doing table topics this morning, or if you want to work with speeches, feel free. But the word of the day this morning is frigid. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. Very good word today. We're feeling it for sure. It is frigid out there. Okay, our next Toastmaster to be introduced is Eric Schneider again, who is our quote master this morning. Eric, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I don't know who wrote this, but I thought this is a good quote. Life is like a snow globe, but the choice of whether to shake it is still yours. And I'll have one more. E. Cummings says the snow doesn't give a soft white damn who it touches. Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, now I think our grammarian this morning is online, David Jones. Are you out there, David? And
yes, ma'am, I am.
Where you are.
It is frigid in Charlotte. It is 28 degrees, and we're expecting another quarter-inch of snow today.
Wow.
It should be fun. Yes.
Yes.
Today I'll be the grammarian, and I will be listening to good and poor uses of grammar and report on them towards the end of the meeting. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. Our master is Marty Johnston. Is Marty out there somewhere?
Thank you, Jackie.
Hi, Marty. You want to tell us about your job?
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. As master, I'll be carefully listening for everyone that speaks and recording the filler words that we tend to use. And the reason I'm on master is to remind everyone at the end of the meeting if they are using them so that we can, in the future, not use them at all or reduce the number that we use. And I'll report back at the meeting on this frigid day.
All right. Thank you, Marty. And our quiz master today is going to be Tracy Farrell. Tracy, are you out there in Zoom land to tell us about your job?
I am, and my job today is to make sure our ears are not frigid. So I will be listening carefully to everybody's speeches and when they speak, and I will be quizzing at the end of the meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. Stay warm.
Hmm.
There is an opportunity for a jester if someone wants to come up with something. Okay, David Licata is going to fill in. All right, you do that, and I will introduce the timer. Sylvia Baptiste is the timer today, and she is also on Zoom.
Good morning, everyone. In this frigid morning, nobody wants to get out of bed. As timer today, I will be timing table topics, speakers, and evaluators. Table topics is 1 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer before or after. And try to get my little green screen up here. And you'll see the green screen. I'll pin myself so everyone can see me. The yellow at the middle time and red at 2 minutes. Speeches normally are 5 to 7, and it'll be the same. Green at 5, yellow at 6, red at 7, with the 30-second buffer before or after. Excuse me. Evaluators, 2 to 3 minutes with a 30-second buffer before and after.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Timer.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Stay warm. Our general evaluator today is Mark Campos. So he's going to leave his duties as AV master and tell us about his other duties. Mark.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, good morning. My job as General Evaluator will be to evaluate the job of the 3 evaluators this morning, as well as our Toastmaster, Mom, Madam Toastmaster.
We live in a snow globe, and it's beautiful. It's been just so pretty if you don't have to go out. Unfortunately, most people have to do at least a little bit of trekking in the snow, and that can be dangerous. I had a call the other day from my neighbor whose mom fell down in the driveway, cracked her head. They needed someone to go over and tend to their little dog, so I had a guest for a few days. Mom is doing better, but she had to have a craniotomy and a second surgery for a brain bleed. So, everybody walk like a penguin and be very careful out there in this frigid weather. It's a pretty scary thing to happen to somebody. All right. David Licata has kindly found a jest and is going to deliver that now. He is working his way up here, and we will hear from him. David Licata.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. We're happy that Steve and Jill found a seat. That's good. We crammed them in at the last minute. They're here now. Everybody who has been in this club with me for some time, I've gone on and on at great length about my semester in London back in the fall of '71, but I did work a trip into Paris, and I was there a few days. But I had a misfortune. I was kidnapped
by French mimes. And what they did to me was unspeakable. Madam Toastmaster. What do you want for nothing?
All right. Thank you for that, David. Very nice. We all need a little bit of humor on a frigid day. So we've got that from David. And now it is time for table topics. You may notice that I am moving things along at a fast pace. That's because the Y has asked us to be all packed up and out of the room by 8:30 because they have a class coming in. So we're going to keep moving along and make sure that we don't skip anybody, though. Before I introduce Phil Russell with table topics, I'm going to proffer a toast. Everybody, please remember to stay warm and safe in this frigid weather.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. All right, now Phil Russell is going to pop up online and lead us in table topics, hopefully. So let's hear from Phil.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters,
Thank you.
I have picked 3 victims. 2 of them have jobs. Too bad. I picked them before you volunteered. Too bad. First victim, Marshall Song. What is the weather like out in your area of the world? Marshall Song, don't forget the word and stay within time. Marshall Song.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. I am lucky my city is not frigid. It's like Miami, Florida of your country. But I just came back from the northern China. My hometown is a cold place. It's like Maryland, not so cold, but it's the most frigid place of my country. Why? It's the line of having heating or not. So my hometown isn't have central heating, but it's still cold. The northern of us, they have heating. They are very warm in the home. The southern, they don't need heating. So in my home, like my cups always, my water always freeze. So I need to have 2 very thick quilts. I am okay, but my nephew, the children, can't breathe because it's so thick. And if you want to play mobile phone, you can only have one hand out of your quilt, and your breath make the phone very. You usually can't see your phone because a lot of water on it. So that's terrible. But the hometown, in my hometown, I met a lot of relatives. They are warmly welcomed us. So in my heart, it's not frigid. We are very warm. Thank you. Go back to Mr. Table Topic Master.
Now, is Tracy Farrell still available? She's not online. Did I see her face? Is Tracy there ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. It's frigid. What is your favoriteest time in your life in frigid, snowy weather? Tracy Farrell.
That's an interesting question. So probably going to Ellicottville. I remember probably when my son was about 2, 3 years, no, he must have been older. He was probably 6 or 7 years old. It was the first time he went skiing. So our whole family went to Ellicottville. We stayed for the weekend and he brought some of his friends. So I'm really off on time. He must have been 10, 11 years old. He brought a couple of his friends. We went skiing all weekend. We went to the Ellicottville Brewery for dinner. It was just kind of a nice thing. My son and his friends, there was a hot tub at this place, and it's, of course, it's in the middle of the winter. Him and his friends were sitting in the hot tub, and we were sitting there waiting. And it's like it was going on and on that they're out there. And then we come to find out, well, it was too cold for them to get out. So they kept staying in the hot tub. So my dad had to go out and get them out of the hot tub before they all froze to death in there. But it was a fun vacation. It was our whole family. Actually, I'm not a very good skier. It was probably maybe the only fourth or fifth time that I'd gone skiing and my son's first time. So it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. But the weather was frigid. It was about 6 degrees below zero one day when we went out. Mr. Table Topics Master.
All right, David, look at it. You better get up fast now and move quickly to the podium lectern there. Get going. You are my next victim. All right, come on, David Licata, get your butt moving. All right, now I give you a good talk to, hey? Seeing as Tracy brought up the word skiing, we know that you're an expert skier. We've been skiing with you before. We know how much you like it, both here and in various places. Bond Lake and up at Tug Mountain Hill. David, what is your favorite story of your skiing adventures?
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master Phil, fellow Toastmasters. I wish there were some guests and all the people out there zooming along. Kevin, Kenny, and I decided to drag our little platoon of friends to Tug Hill. And Kevin was more adventurous this is cross country, by the way. David doesn't downhill at all. I don't even look at downhill runs. So Kevin being more adventurous, I would stay and lag behind him, promising myself that I would do whatever he did. So we came to a stretch that was a pretty good incline. So Kevin negotiated that, no problem. And then I had a moment of doubt and indecision. And that's the lesson this morning. Do not have moments of doubt and indecision, because I tried to slow down and I turned left and I went into a crazy thing they call a thorn tree. And I got stabbed by a thorn and didn't know it. And I felt my leg got nice and warm. And then it felt a little damp, but then that went away because you have so much clothes on. But it turns out, probably the fact that the weather was frigid that day prevented me from feeling it. But to make a long story short, I ended up at the hospital, but I wouldn't go to the hospital until I let Phil's then girlfriend check my leg out on this hospital decision, because she is indeed a nurse, which made my wife, being a medical technologist for over 30 years, made her blood boil a little. I still hearing about it, if you must know. But this morning when I came out of the door at my house, and my wife being conscientious, we have all our little automatic timing lights, and we had that beautiful Christmas card snow with the little glistening diamonds in it. Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics.
Madam Timer, how did they do?
Well, Marshall, made it with 2 minutes and whoop. Yep, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. I didn't know if I had my voice on or not. Tracy made it with 1 minute, 35 seconds. David went over a second, 2 minutes and 16 seconds.
All right. And can we also have a Wordmasters report?
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning again, Madam Toastmaster. All three of our table topics contestants used it this morning. Marshall used it 3 times. Tracy, I heard it at least once, and David used it once as well. And that is my report, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. All right. You can cast your ballot now for Marshall or Tracy, but not David Licata, who went 1 second over. Ignoring that red light is not a good thing to do. This time of year, we always have a lot of different choices for themes in Toastmasters. One of them is always to think about President's Day. I always liked it better when it was Lincoln's birthday and then Washington's birthday, because we celebrated that in our house. Always enjoyed both holidays, but we do live in a snow globe here. So let's move along and start our speeches for this morning so that we can get out of here in a timely manner. Our first speaker is going to be Carol Ann Halstead. Her evaluator this morning will be Beth Banks. Beth, do you want to tell us a little bit about Carol's speech?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, this is quite the frigid morning. My favorite neighbor just was here snow blowing us out one more time. Poor guy. He just really comes back and back and back. Thank God. Carol Ann will be doing a speech this morning from, okay, let's see, where's my, I have too many notes here. She is in Pathways, the Presentation Mastery, Researching and Presenting. And her title is 1983, Here Come DRGs. Carol Ann Halstead, 1983, Here Come DRGs. Take it away, Carol.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, what are DRGs? Actually, the definition used in healthcare means diagnostic related groups, and they're a classification system to group hospital cases based on similar clinical characteristics and resource consumption. Hospitals are reimbursed by determined length of stay for a diagnosis. So each diagnosis has a particular amount of time that people are supposed to be hospitalized with that. When I first graduated, new moms were in the hospital usually until postpartum day 5. This really seemed appropriate. There's so much teaching to be done, especially with first-time moms. And really, they need some time to heal and rest. However, the length of stay now became 48 hours. And I'm kind of imagining that a panel of men made this decision. Now, the observation skills of the maternity nurses have to be really spot on because they have to detect any issues that would make it best if the new moms had some type of home care visits, adjusting to this new role as mom. Of course, money being spent unnecessarily is what made this system have to kick in. I know years ago, in fact, when I was a teenager, I was admitted a couple times to the hospital to have a GI workup, meaning getting some x-rays done for possible stomach problems. But I wasn't really acutely ill. These certainly could have been done as an outpatient. But I even remember the doctor asking my mom, well, you have hospitalization, don't you? So yeah, get her in the hospital, probably maybe get them done a little bit faster. And actually, years ago, sometimes grandma would be admitted over a holiday to give the family a little break. And of course, they have so many systems in place now, respite care and things that do help with that. And the thing is, since the medical personnel were not doing anything to curb spending, the government steps in. There has been a drastic change in length of stay for a knee replacement. I know when I had mine done 10 years ago, I was in the hospital for 3 to 4 days, and I spent 2 weeks in a rehab facility for physical therapy. Now, you usually go home the same day. In fact, my husband is scheduled to have knee replacement next month. He may have an overnight because of the fact that he's had some new cardiac issues. So he may get to stay overnight. But then PT comes to your home, and then you have to make arrangements to go to an outpatient physical therapy. My daughter, Katie, just had her tonsils out this week. And the typical, the length of stay now is you go home the same day. This type of surgery can have a chance of bleeding, and that is a little concerning that you go home the same day. Now, our youngest daughter had a sinus surgery, and actually the length of stay for that is overnight, particularly if you have packing that has to be removed. Guess what? She was sent home the same day and got to remove her own packing the next morning. Again, there's a chance of bleeding with this type of surgery, so that's still a bit concerning. Now, pneumonia has a 5.4 day stay with variables, age, severity, whatever. I knew in 1989 when I was hospitalized for pneumonia that I was very ill. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Now, patients with heart attacks, there wasn't much they could do. They didn't have the angiograms and the stents back then. So these people laid in the hospital weren't even allowed to feed themselves. and they just, all they had to offer was morphine and oxygen. Thank heavens our cardiac advances are wonderful. And when I worked on a surgical floor, we were very concerned, taking vital signs frequently, checking dressings, and managing pain, where these people are at home after surgery now, which is a little disturbing to us old-time nurses. And so many things can be done at home. IV medications given at home. So things have really changed. But the one thing that I know, a quote from President Reagan was, "Beware when you hear, 'I'm from the government and I'm here to help.'" Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. Our next speaker this morning will be Jill Roaring, and she will be evaluated by Les Robinson. Les, can you tell us a little bit about Jill's project?
Certainly I can. Jill's project is the purpose of this project is for the member to understand the types of persuasive speeches and deliver a persuasive speech at the club. So it's wrestling strip the belt bare. So it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Jill Roaring.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Am I forced to watch professional wrestling? No, but sometimes you just need to break down and be with the people you love and put up with the nonsense of it. And I try in good faith to do so, but it is so hard. I mean, how long can I let my logical self be in this disbelief of what is happening on the TV? A wrestler lays on the mat, seemingly knocked out. You know, the cartoon stars in the eyes. Only to get up 2 seconds later and run around the ring. The wrestlers are gently thrown or jump out of the ring, and they land on the soft mat outside. They don't even hit their head, but they're again instantly knocked out. Oh no. Until there's a 2 count. 1, 2. And then there are the announcers. I don't know how anyone can criticize Tony Romo announcing the Buffalo Bills on CBS after listening to these guys. I believe they have a script of about 150 words. That one blended, jumbled, and repeated with wrestlers' names can take them through a 3-hour broadcast. What does Billy have to do to end this match? This is after somebody got knocked out and came to life after 2 count. Big Bob is going to pound him with this 400-pound steel, actually aluminum, probably 30-pound steps. He's going to the top rope. And what does Nikki have to do to end this match? She's in disbelief that this match is not ended. And then there's, oh no, he's destroying the announcer's table. That happens every time. I think sometimes it happens a couple times, but I'm not sure. When is this going to end? Can I actually handle being out here in the warm garage watching this stuff for 3 hours or more? Then there's the sobering reality that we are buying Netflix and Peacock, and who knows what is next to actually watch this stuff. And to make it worse, the Raw programs on Mondays, which fortunately I have not watched. I'm getting this from reports. On Peacock, used to be 3 hours when they were on USA. Sometimes 3 hours over, maybe 3 hours, 10 minutes. Most of the programs since the first of the year apparently have only been about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And we're paying for Peacock for a whole month to watch 8 hours of wrestling. So, and on top of it, they only have 3 or 4 matches in that 2 or 2.5 hours. How do you do this, you know? The rest of the time is pageantry and bragging and shouting and all that stuff that makes the wrestling world have their communication styles that Steve talked about 2 weeks ago. They break for commercials during a match. Can you imagine if the NFL ran a touchdown play while the Bud Light Frogs were croaking? And then there are the women wrestlers. Except for a few that are actually physically built for wrestling, and they tend to lose. They are young, mostly petite sex symbols. And for a while, they actually called them divas. And you have to wonder, because their outfits don't leave much to the imagination, unless you wonder how the sequins don't fall off. They all wear such an obnoxious amount of makeup, you wonder how it all stays on during the match, and then how long it takes to take it off after. They have the women heels, as Steve talked about before. And those ones tend to have very hard, ugly looks to them. The makeup is dark, black. How do they? Well, at least when they take it all off, you can't recognize them. I just can't deal it. And there's all the titles. There's about 20 belts. And the universe belt, that kind of like the Miss Universe pageant. How can we know that there's not other life out there that would compete for this? Well, I think they're all more intelligent than us, so they obviously this is. So I keep watching. And then eventually I get to the point where I can't take this anymore, guys. I'm going in the house. And that's what I do. I give up. So I hope to persuade you to watch wrestling. It's such a study in communication. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
And our last speaker this morning will be Maggie Craig. Her evaluator is Steve Smith, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this morning. Steve.
Thank you. I gotta follow that? Yeah. Anyway, I'm evaluating Maggie today. She's working the Presentation Masteries Pathway, Level 1, writing a speech with purpose. And her purpose is to learn and review basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. Her time is 5 to 7 minutes. And her title this morning is Only the Lonely. Maggie Craig.
Hi, I'm just getting myself oriented on this, but so don't start me up. Good morning. Okay. Okay. Only the lonely know how my heart feels tonight. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. As we slip and slide out of this frigid heart month, let's take one more opportunity to discuss something that affects the heart. Not just physically, but emotionally too. Loneliness. As it turns out, there's a good chance that many of you know how my heart feels tonight. We've all felt it at some point. Maybe it was during the pandemic. Maybe it was during a big life event. Or maybe it was when you were in a crowded room, but you just didn't feel like you belonged. Know this. Loneliness is not just a feeling. It is a health issue, and it can be as bad for your heart as smoking or obesity. Did you know that in the US, more than 1 in 3 adults report feeling lonely on a regular basis? It's not just seniors sitting alone in their apartments. That number almost doubles in young people, young adults who actually are among the loneliest groups. And although income may play a factor, rates rose to 42% from 39% among people who made less than $40,000 a year. Loneliness doesn't discriminate. According to the US Surgeon General, chronic loneliness can increase the risk of heart disease by 29% and the risk of early death by 26%. In fact, prolonged loneliness is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Around the world, loneliness is on the rise. The UK appointed a minister of loneliness to address this problem, and Japan has a loneliness crisis hotline. Clearly, this is something that we need to take seriously. Why are we feeling so isolated? We live in the most connected time in history, and yet most of us, some of us, feel more disconnected than ever before. Some of the biggest reasons may include technology. Social media keeps us connected, but it doesn't replace real human connection. We know that at Toastmasters, when we're there in person, we get to have some real FaceTime and make connections that could develop into friendships. Busy lifestyles, work, family, and responsibility make it easy to put friendships on the back burner. Some of us work to provide for people at our table, but we never have time to sit at that table to enjoy time with the people we love enough to provide for. Life transitions, moving, retirement, or losing a loved one can leave people feeling isolated. I know when I moved to Lockport, it took me a long time to make new connections. Loneliness takes a toll on our physical health too. It's been linked to high blood pressure, weakened immune systems, and even dementia. When we feel lonely, our bodies go into stress mode, releasing cortisol, which over time can damage our hearts. What can we do? Well, first, we can admit it. Loneliness is not a personal failure. It's a human experience. If you feel lonely, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're wired for connection. Schedule time like it's an appointment. Whether it's coffee with a friend or a weekly phone call, make it a priority. Join a club or a group. Toastmasters is a stellar example of the connections that can be made within our community, but take it a step further, like Dave Licata does, and invite your friends out for breakfast. Get to know them outside of this room. Check on others. If you're feeling lonely, chances are someone else is too. Remember, 1 in 3 adults identifies as lonely. When you reach out, you might be saving a life. Put the phone down. Scrolling Instagram won't fill the void, but a real conversation will. Keep those synapses firing. You might find something interesting to talk about. Be kind to yourself. If loneliness creeps in, don't beat yourself up. See it as a nudge to connect with the world around you. Heart Month reminds us to take care of our hearts, but that doesn't just mean exercise and diet. It also means connection. Happy heart is a healthy heart. Say hello to a neighbor. Make time for friends. And remind the people in our lives that they matter. Because in the end, love and connection, that's what keeps our hearts strong. Only the lonely know this feeling just ain't right. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. All right. All 3 speakers have given us their best. Now we need a timer's report so we can decide who to vote for. Madam Timer.
Well, 2 of the 3 qualifies. Carol Ann went over 1 minute. Her time was 8 minutes even. Jill, 7 minutes and 7 minutes and 12 seconds. And Maggie, 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Thank you very much, Madam Timer. So you may vote for Jill or Maggie. Cast your ballot when it pops up on your screen, you Zoomers. This is what I love about Toastmasters. Coming every Thursday morning, you learn something new every week. 3 strong speeches this morning talking about health concerns and our basically kind of broken healthcare system in this country. The entertainment that we can get if we're interested, watching grown men and women throw each other around a mat. And what kind of an effect loneliness has on your life. I see this all the time at the Mental Health Association. It's such a strong connection. When people feel lonely, they have a problem feeling well, doing the things they need to do to stay well. It's a hard choice. So now we will move on to our evaluations. And our first evaluator this morning, who will be evaluating Carol Ann's speech. Carol gave us a lot of information this morning. And Beth Banks is ready to tell us what she thinks of Carol Ann's work this morning. Beth.
Thank you, Jackie. I have to admit to not really having a clue what DRGs were, so I learned something right away from Carol Ann's speech. She gave us good information, being able to sort people into the groups. I loved Carol Ann's facial expressions today. She really spoke very well, but she gave us those expressions. She was close enough to the camera for all of us to see. I loved the humor. That was particularly good in my opinion. Some things that maybe Carol Ann could work on. We know that the ahs and the ands are a particular challenge for Carol Ann, so she does need to continue working on those. Reading from her notes, I believe, was a little bit challenging. It kept her focus from the camera down, from the camera down. I know she had a lot of good information. It would have been hard to memorize. Just work on that a little bit. She also, in this case, looked above her camera. I don't know at what, if she was just thinking about what she was going to say, but that was a little distracting too. There were times when her pace was wonderful. There were times when her pace was just a little bit too slow. If she had increased the pace a little, she probably would have made time. I felt that the length of stay information was very good. It showed not only that you did your research, but you had a lot of personal, anecdotal information to support that. And I know myself, yes, knee replacement. You go home that day. I went home that day in October. So have been working on that continually since then. I loved the way she finished it up using that Reagan quote. Nice job. I liked the speech today, Carol Ann. Continue. Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Beth. From Les Robinson, telling us a little bit about what he thought of Jill's speech. Les.
Yes. Just 1 second, let my throat clear out, and then I'll be ready. Jill, I loved your speech. It was incredible. I did not realize how much you loved wrestling. Your whole beginning, middle, and end, the gestures of just enjoyment of the sport was incredible. I loved how your actions, when you said the cartoon stars, I was looking at you and you could actually visualize you seeing the cartoon stars as you're giving the presentation. I thought that was incredible. Your body movement through the whole thing was incredible. There's an advantage of going to Toastmasters and doing your body movement versus doing your body movement on Zoom. Fun gestures. I liked about, you said there's 150 words on wrestling. You are about actually right. I do watch it once in a blue moon. I'm not a big wrestler, but when I go to my friend's house or we have a group and you watch it, it is kind of funny how it's 1 and then 2. And I could visualize once again that count, and mysteriously they're healed, which is incredible. Great engagement, just overall win. Your clarity was incredible. You really have a passion for watching wrestling, and your vocal variety was incredible. I can't. Now, what I would have done is maybe had a pictures of some wrestling or pictures of where you watch this wrestling event on there. And one thing you may want to do to save your money on Peacock and Netflix is when you go to the Erie County Fair, they have these little black boxes you can buy, and you can stream and DVR everything so you don't have to worry about Monday nights. Once again, your gestures were just right off the wall. You brought in the audience the awareness of everything wrestling. It was probably the greatest speech you ever gave. You enjoyed it. You were into it. And it was just very interesting. And it was very fun. Once again, Jill, great job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And our final evaluator this morning will be Steve Smith, giving us some information about Maggie Craig's speech. Steve.
Thank you. I will reserve comment about that speech because Maggie's speech was quite a serious topic, something that, truth be told, most of us don't want to talk about. And she started out with a line from the song, "Only the Lonely." And that got our attention. And then she gave us a bunch of very sobering statistics about loneliness. And what I found interesting is not only the emotional impact, but the physical impact of what it does to your body going through these things. And it took me a few minutes. I didn't notice it at first, but dead center behind her was this big heart. And I found that very appropriate for the speech. I did talk with her on the phone, and she did want to be here live to do it because she agrees with me on this, and I agree with her, however you want to look at it. It's better to work a live audience. You can do gestures. You can get reaction from the audience. It's hard to get feedback when you're staring at the camera. But she did. She looked right at the camera, and she was working the camera, but you don't get the feedback. You don't know how your speech is going over. But in spite of all that, I think she did a very good job. And it's tough to do gestures. She did do some. Now, this wasn't a topic that would lend itself to being over the top gestures like I like to do, but she could have done some. And that's what I challenge her to do. Find a way to do more gestures, get more physical into a speech when you're doing it on Zoom. I have trouble doing that because I want to get up, start bouncing around. I can't because all of a sudden I'm not on camera. So I think she did a pretty good job of that. She had some vocal variety in it. You could hear the seriousness in her voice. You could hear this coming from the heart. And that wasn't a speech that lent itself to a lot of vocal variety either, but she did get some in there. Overall, I think it was a very, very well done speech. I thank her for bringing it to us today. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Steve. And now we'll have our final timers report. Mike? Mike? No, Sylvia. Sylvia. That's what I get for not looking at my schedule. Sorry, Sylvia.
That's okay. It's some early morning, snowy, frigid day.
Yeah.
Beth at 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Lust at 2 minutes and 3 seconds. And Steve, 2 minutes exactly. I was just going to put the green light on, Steve. So all three qualify.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Timer. Please cast your ballot. And we'll move on to wrap up the meeting so we can clean up and get out of here and let a class come in. I understood exactly what Carol Ann was saying in her speech about times. I had 3 children over the course of 18 years. The first time I was in the hospital for 10 days, begging to go home. The second time it was 7 days. Yeah, not so bad. The third time, they remembered that I was supposed to have a fancy dinner just as they were getting me ready to leave on the third day, and quickly put that together. So it's amazing to me the changes in hospital stays and treatment. I also had a knee replacement this past year. I got there at 7 a.m. and got home at 2. Unbelievable. It's so fast, and you get sent home with equipment and you have to figure out how to take care of yourself or have a family member take care of you and do your physical therapy and all that jazz. The healthcare system has gotten very difficult to maneuver for people. Thank you, Jill, for giving us more insight with your rebuttal to Steve's speech. It's kind of fun to have people go head to head about a particular topic. I think maybe we ought to make that a thing once in a while, to set people up with a topic that they have to take one side or the other. They used to do that on some news show, and it was always very good. And Maggie, you really hit the nail on the head with your speech this morning. We all have to watch out for each other and check on each other. Make sure that we extend our hand in friendship to people so they know they can count on us when they need to. Now we're going to hear from our evaluator who's doing multiple duty this morning as he gives us his opinion of today's meeting. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, good morning once again. I will give a very brief general evaluator's report. I'd like to start first with the job of Jackie, our Toastmaster. You did a fantastic job today. I would expect nothing less from the club mom. You run a very tight ship. Your job holders were all lined up. There were some adjustments. You took care of all that prior to the meeting. Everything was very seamless. You were thrown a curveball right at the beginning of the meeting where the Y staff told us that we needed to be completely out of here by 8:30, packed up and out by 8:30, not ending the meeting at 8:30 and then packing up. So you kept the meeting moving along accordingly while still not appearing rushed, always seeming very calm and measured. Fantastic job today. As for our three evaluators, let's start with Beth. Beth, I thought you made a wonderful sandwich this morning. I thought you nailed all of the opportunities for improvement in Carol Ann's speech that I was thinking of as I watched it, and you delivered it in a very gentle manner, so kudos to you for that. Les also, another sandwich maker this morning. I agree on all the superlatives about Jill's speech. It has the makings of a humorous speech contest winner. The only thing I might have added there was just a little bit about pacing. As the speech went on, it seemed like you were slowing down and it just felt like you were stretching to make time, finishing with a flourish. So just something about keeping that exasperation up longer through the whole speech, and I think you have a winner. Steve, again, all the superlatives about Maggie's speech this morning. She did a fantastic job. Along the lines of superlatives, and again, I'm a firm believer of staying in one's lane as a Toastmaster, but do as I say, not as I do here. I just have to comment, Maggie, I believe there was a crying dog in the background, and you ignored that dog like a pro. Fantastic job. I was looking to see if I needed to mute someone else, but you did a fantastic job with that. Steve, maybe a little bit more on the meat of the sandwich. I know the obvious point about not having the audience, but that was not really a constructive thing that Maggie could control. The only thing I might have thought of was perhaps a little less reliance on notes and more connection with the camera, but that's nitpicky. She was terrific today. Overall, I thought it was a great meeting, and I'd like to hand it back to our Toastmaster to call for reports.
All right. We have some people to evaluate their fellow members and talk about how they did today as far as vocabulary and grammar. And using that word of the day, frigid. I am facing the giant windows here in this room, and it really looks like we live in a snow globe looking out there. All right, who will we hear from first? How about David Jones in his equally cold environment? David Jones, tell us about your role as grammarian, please.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and good morning again, fellow Toastmasters and any guests that might be there. As grammarian, I was listening for good and poor uses of grammar, and I'm going to start with Eric. He indicated that us in the room, possibly go with those of us in the room. Sylvia might have been projecting, but she said in this frigid day, it would be on this frigid day, unless you're in a snow globe. Then you might be in this frigid day. Jackie said walk like a penguin, which I thought was a good visual and good advice for snow and ice. Phil, of course, had one of his Philisms that he repeated several times, and I had a hard time writing it down. Favoriteness, something like that. I can't even pronounce it. Only Phil can pronounce it. Tracy said him and his friends, which I believe it's he and his friends. I Googled it, and It's went down a whole rabbit hole on him and his. Maggie said, "A happy heart is a healthy heart," and Jackie called us Zoomers, which is it seems proper since we're on Zoom, but actually Zoomers are Generation Z, those born from 1997 to 2012. And I don't know if it has anything to do with Zoom or not, but that's the definition of Zoomers. And then finally, Maggie, I like how this was a side note, but how she described Toastmasters as a good solution to loneliness, especially if you get into district leadership, where you will have 2 to 3 meetings 6 days a week. And today is number 1 of my 3 meetings today. But back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
All right, David, we're glad you're sticking with us. And wasn't it a good idea to become a district officer? All right, let's hear from Marty Johnston, our master today. Marty?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. On this frigid February morning, as promised, I will deliver my master report. I had Marshall with 1 Jackie with a so, Carol Ann had a few ahs and 1 Jill had an and Sylvia had an and that completes my report. Thank you. Back to you, Jackie.
Thank you, Marty. All right, now we'll hear from Tracy with some quizzical questions for us this morning, I hope. Tracy.
Thank you. Quizzical questions. I love it. Our first quizzical question is, what is the temperature in Charlotte, North Carolina right now? And David, you can't answer that.
28 degrees, yes.
Absolutely, you're right. What is the amenity not found in Marshall's hometown?
Heat, central heat.
Central heat, absolutely. Marshall?
Heat.
Marshall, are you north or south of Beijing?
My hometown is south of Beijing.
South of Beijing. And I looked up the temperature in Beijing right now, 34 degrees.
Whoa.
I think that's what I thought too. Maggie told us loneliness is the equivalent of smoking how many cigarettes a day?
15.
Yep. 4. What does DRG stand for?
Diagnostic related groups.
You got it. Okay, and this is the final question for today. Does anyone want to take a guess as to what the French memes did to Dave Licata? Nobody's going.
Done 'em up.
Unspeakable.
Unspeakable things. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. And our final report would be the word master.
Good morning again, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. The word frigid did really well today. Madam Toastmaster, you yourself used it 6 times. David Jones used it once. I heard Sylvia used it twice. Tracy outside of table topics used it once. Marty used it twice. Phil used it twice. Beth used it once, and Maggie was able to fit it in her speech as well. And that is my report this morning, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. That was a perfect word for today. And now I will turn things back over to our officer of the day, Eric Schneider.
Jackie, would you like to stand up with me, please, for our winners this morning so we can get a move on? All right. Let's just take one of these out because we have somebody in the room for that.
Yeah.
Our best table topics winner today is Tracy Farrell. Congratulations to Tracy. Would you like to read the next one?
And our best evaluator today is Steve Smith. He's in person. We have a ribbon for him.
He's live. Welcome. And our best speaker is Maggie Craig. Congratulations to Maggie.
Oh, we're a split club. Yeah. Remember, everyone, that $1 every week that you contribute can help pay for perhaps a nice party in the summer. Could happen.
Oh, hold on, I gotta get the money out, so. Last three numbers. 840. David wins.
Of course. Thanks, Steve.
That's a whole. Oh, we'll work on it after I close the meeting, Dave.
We can fix that.
And with that, before we adjourn the meeting, good luck to David, Phil, and Maggie this weekend for the Area 11 and 12 contest. It's Saturday morning, 10 a.m. at the Rhinestein Memorial Library in Cheektowaga. Cheekto Vegas, or as we also say. And with that, I would like to adjourn the meeting. Have a good weekend.
Can I just say,